All right, before I talk about this, I want to cover a couple things real quick. First off, I'm not saying don't buy this game / these games. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I actually want to play these games as well. So take that into consideration as I talk about this, because it's more just a general practice and a bad precedent that I want to talk about today, because I think we have finally encountered the worst game launch of all time. Not in terms of how they perform, not in terms of needing a patch or anything like that, because the game's not even out yet, but in terms of retail practices, limited artificial scarcity, and just punishing people for not being at the door immediately. What am I talking about? Jay, what are you talking about? Please get to the point. That is Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Now, before you click off, because you probably are maybe not into Nintendo, or maybe this is appealing to a niche audience, this is about more than Mario. This is about more than Nintendo. It is about how this game is launching and what it really means. Because we've already had tons of limited run, exclusive, just physical games. That's been a thing forever. And honestly, believe it or not, I'm actually fine with it in terms of games that would not get a physical release otherwise, right? So you have companies like I Am 8-Bit and Limited Run Games and all these other companies, which I'm not bashing at all, because I think that they have a niche marketplace. I think that they have a reason to exist. And frankly, what they are doing is they are making games have physical releases that otherwise wouldn't get one. They would just sell enough to be digital. The company that made them would make it a digital-only game. A lot of times it's indie. Sometimes it's smaller titles from AAA studios. Those games make sense to me for the physical to be limited. This game, however, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, is not only a limited physical release, but a limited digital release. Limited digital. Let that sink in. Are you having flashbacks and PTSD yet from something like PT, which was actually delisted from the PlayStation Store, no longer playable, and unless you have a PS4 with it or downloaded it and just held onto it, you can't even play it? And in fact, that one, even if you had downloaded it on your profile, if you go and try to do it now, you can't. Most things that get removed from a marketplace, you can still download it after the fact. With PT, you can't even do so anymore. So here's the thing with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. It even says on the site itself, please note, Super Mario 3D All-Stars will be available as a limited run retail edition and a digital edition that is available for a limited time until the end of March 2021. Once the digital edition has been purchased on your Nintendo account, it can be re-downloaded and played if deleted from your device. So that's great. We've already passed the threshold of this being a PT release, which is good. I'm really glad to hear it. This game comes with Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and the first Super Mario Galaxy game. These are great games. I am not saying don't buy them. In fact, I'm sure I will buy them. Call me a hypocrite, call me whatever you want, couldn't care less. But the problem that I have with this is the fact that it is incentivizing developers to do this limited run digital release, which doesn't make any sense because, as a lot of others have pointed out, Nintendo games often make a lot of money over time. You know, you look at something like Super Smash Bros., Super Mario Kart, anything like this, Mario Maker, these games are not just selling 3 million units at launch and then they're dead. These units are pushed over time pretty consistently. I know obviously it's not going to be GTA 5 levels of bestseller for, a year or two. It's not that, but it is sort of like, hey, we're selling units over time. It's trickling in millions of sales over time. Each month we are adding up, and that is actually helping boost the revenue for Nintendo as a company. That's good for games as an industry. That's good for Nintendo as a company. And hey, it's good for gamers because it keeps a game on the shelf, keeps going, and you have access to it later on. The idea of not only selling a limited edition physical, but a limited edition digital is possibly one of the worst game launches I've seen ever. Because this means that going forward, it is what a lot of naysayers have said about digital games possibly coming true. This is not Orwellian, it's not the end of the world, but it is very silly for people who either like to enjoy playing games or like to collect games. We've already seen tons of problems with this sort of thing, actually, as a game studio will lose the actual, the license, I'm losing my words tonight, to a property. So you can see that with something like Beanox and Activision's Amazing Spider-Man games, even Web of Shadows, things like that, that were made back in the days when Activision had the license to make Spider-Man. Since then, they do not anymore. That is why those games have disappeared from digital marketplaces such as Steam. So guess what that means if those games had only been printed digitally? You're not getting that game unless you steal it. Now, Jay, whoa, what do you mean steal it? Wow, I'm not a thief. I'm not a criminal. What are you saying? Piracy's not stealing. Well, here's the problem. At the very least in the U.S., the law would disagree with you. And frankly, if you're not using a VPN, you're not being safe, you're not doing all this stuff, I'm not going to, teach you how to pirate games. It's not something I recommend doing, and it's not legal. You could face legal consequences for that, and if somebody tries to make an example out of you, they actually could. We saw this with the music industry years ago when they started going after people for pirating music. That's why a lot of people don't do it anymore, because it just ended up not being worth it, worth the risk. And actually, I knew somebody who had to pay back the studio for all the stuff that they had downloaded because there were programs in place and lawyers on retainer and stuff like that to watch for these things. So basically it was like, hey, you either pay back for all the music you stole of this intellectual property, or we will take you to court, and we will take a lot more from you, was essentially the idea. That's the kind of stuff that you are opening yourself up to with things like this, because if these games became only available now on a ROM or a file online because you can no longer buy the digital or the physical, the thing with this being limited is that it's going to not only incentivize that sort of downloading illegally, but it's also going to incentivize people on places like Craigslist and eBay and all these other places to scalp the hell out of this game. And you know what? It's kind of sad because there's only so far you can blame those people. Like, do they get kind of douchey with it? Absolutely. Is it ridiculous that someone will buy, I'm throwing this out here, just a random example, a Funko Pop for $10 and then try and spike it up to $100 within a week? Absolutely. Is it ridiculous that we had copies of Xenoblade Chronicles, the original, being opened up to be sold for more used than they were worth new? Absolutely, it's ridiculous, this scalping practice. It's something I've been against forever. But Nintendo is enabling this behavior. There's really no other way to say it. I mean, they are essentially creating a marketplace. It's very clear now, too, that they are creating a marketplace in a way, in my opinion, that is essentially creating artificial scarcity to push a massive amount of sales at first, not give a damn who those sales go to, and then when a lot of them go to scalpers, those people resell Super Mario All-Stars for $200, or they resell an amiibo for $70 that was $10, or they resell a Funko Pop that was $8.99 for $100 in a week or two. This is the kind of thing that some of these companies, and I believe Nintendo is doing the same thing, are doing, is creating a marketplace where you as a gamer or as a consumer either need to get there right away and buy it, or you miss out and you need to buy it secondhand and give some idiot a ton of extra money that you maybe don't have. And on top of all of this, just to kind of finish it off, this is during COVID. People don't have a lot of money. Yeah, boo-hoo for them. I know a lot of people have that sentiment, like, oh, well, too bad for them. But the fact remains that this is something that a lot of people enjoy. Millions of people enjoy this brand. And a lot of people are struggling right now with financial situations, with money. They're probably not spending disposable income because they don't have it. So this is maybe the most tone-deaf time to also do something like this, which is already a tone-deaf decision in gaming. I don't understand it. I really think artificial scarcity is stupid, and I think that the Super Mario 3D All-Stars launch is really the epitome of that. I'm not saying don't play the game. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm not saying if you buy it, you're supporting this practice. I really don't think you are, because the fact is this is going to sell out with or without you. It doesn't matter either way. They are going to sell all the copies of this. It just depends on if you want to buy it right now, for $60, or you want to buy it from Bubba in 2 years for $200 on cartridge. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about this sort of marketing release. What are your opinions? Have you seen other games do stuff like this? Do you have these worries with digital games going forward that maybe this could be a precedent of the idea of, hey, this is limited time, you're not going to get this after this? Or what are your thoughts? I'm very interested to hear that. Maybe I'm just being alarmist. I've seen a lot of Nintendo people defend this, which I don't understand, man. And I have a Wii U. So, I would count myself among you. I really don't get simping this hard for Nintendo that you can't call this out as a weird and poor business practice. And it's just very frustrating to see from a company that is fantastic. I love Nintendo. I love the stuff they make. I love the creative directors there, the developers, the art direction, everything. It's mind-blowing to me how stupid this is. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to like if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. Stay shui. Take your blood pressure medicine if you need it, because maybe I do after this one.